What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and in today's video I am beyond excited to share with you Straight Ahead Sample's Birth of the Trumpet. So if you know me, you know I enjoy my jazz, right? I don't write a ton of it, but when I do write it, I just have a blast, and I know there are a lot of people who enjoy writing in this style as well. And when this library came out on VI Control, that's the first place I saw it, I was like, okay, let's check it out. You know, another jazz library can't be all that bad. So I saw the announcement, and then I clicked on the product page and went to the SoundCloud links. And audio quality aside, I couldn't quite believe my ears. It was almost like too good to be true. The trumpet basically had this really smooth tone that sounded entirely realistic. And I was like, there must be some, magic going on here. So I kind of did a little bit of research, looked into the walkthrough videos that Trey, the developer, put out, and it's just I was just mind blown with the amount of work that's actually gone into this instrument, and it really shows. So let's get into it. First of all, I do want to thank Straight Ahead Samples for sending me a copy of the library to review for you. I'm very excited to go through this and show you what it has to offer. So the library in itself is very simple. It's a contact player library, and for $130 regular price, if you write this style of music, you'll see it's like more than worth it, in my opinion. So it's contact player friendly, which means it'll show up here in your libraries folder. And then if you open it, it literally just comes with one patch. So you drag that in and it loads up just the one patch at about, 0.6 gigabytes of RAM. But that is with one microphone position. If you load in the others, of course, there's going to be more. For the purposes of this review, I'm just going to stick with the close because for my computer, it takes a while to load in additional samples. And for most of the demos and the demonstrations, I believe Trey used the close mainly as well, with maybe a touch of room here and there for extra body. But really, the close mic is what stands out to me. So I'm just going to demonstrate with this microphone. The main standout feature, though, is the smart delay. And we'll get into this in a little bit. But first, let me just play a little bit of this instrument for you and show you the different articulations and the mutes as well. So there's different tabs you can see here. There's performance, there's sound, and control. Control is, as you would expect, you can control the different key switches. Like for mutes, you have those at the very top. You also have legato speed and legato crossfading. I just typically leave it on default. And then the amount of vibrato, I believe it's scripted because you have control over this, is the amount of vibrato, the speed of the vibrato, of course, like the rate at which it vibrates. And then finally, how much time you wait before the vibrato actually comes in. So that's also really cool to have. Anyway, playing in real time, let's go through a few of these articulations here. So actually, why don't I put this on none first? Here we go. Yeah, so some of these key switches here, basically after I play the note, it immediately goes back to the default articulation, whether that's tongued or sustained. So I just have to make sure I do this carefully here and press the key switch every time I'm actually trying to activate that key switch. Yeah, so some of the articulations here, you kind of have to play it. So, like for example, if I'm by default in legato, if I want to do a gliss between two notes, I have to press the gliss key switch, then press the note I want to gliss to, and then it activates the glissando in between. So kind of working your way around these key switches and articulations may take a few minutes, but it comes with basically these standard, ones that you would expect for a jazz style trumpet library. Let's move on to the mutes here. So let's hear a few of these selections, and the key switches are actually up here in purple on the right. So the red ones here are the different articulations. The purple ones are for the mutes. So let's also take a quick look at the real acoustic mute sampling method. So before we actually hear the mutes themselves, I want to go over really quickly what they say in the manual for the mutes. So the ability to add nearly any mute to an instrument is a technology we've been developing over the last 5 years. And while the process is a trade secret, we'll say this is not a basic EQ matching pass done in post-production, which is actually done in quite a few libraries where they'll actually, they have the recorded samples, but then they'll just apply an EQ simulating a mute sound, right? But in this case, it actually, they say it's our way of actually recording the real physical mutes and applying them to the open trumpet samples without giving too much away. It involves sawing a trumpet in half. Okay, so I don't really know what that means, like sawing a trumpet in half, okay. But I don't really know their process of getting all those mutes, because to me it sounds really authentic, which we're about to hear in a second, but I don't know the work that's gone into it. I can only appreciate it based on the result that I'm hearing, and hopefully you can hear it as well. So again, I'm just recommending that you check out the manual if you want to learn more about the features of the instrument and support the developer, and just get a good understanding of how the instrument works. All right, so we went through the different mutes there, and they all sound pretty good, right? They all sound pretty standard, and but the basic functionality of the library, for the real-time performances, they sound decent, right? Decent enough. Smart delay is where it really comes into play. So by the way, really cool GUI change there. Everything is dark. You press smart delay or the click switch, and it brightens up. So let's read this. For added realism, engage smart delay and go to your DAW. Select the trumpet's MIDI region and move it 4 beats to the left. The script will analyze your playing and select the appropriate samples and delay them 4 beats. If you haven't seen this yet, I definitely recommend you check out Straight Ahead Samples' in-depth look at the smart delay after this video, because it kind of walks you through the exact process that Trey used to accomplish what we're about to hear. But essentially, I think because there are so many variations in how a player can approach a note, play a note, and end a note, whether that's going, cutting the note off or transitioning to a different note, capturing all of those nuances takes a big effort. And I believe it's written on the sales or the product page that they sampled 9 sustains per note or something like that, or like 9, of the same note. And also each of the notes kind of had this entry point and, heading off point afterwards, so that it created this kind of flowing phrase. When the script puts it all together, it sounds like a really natural phrase. All right, so before we go too far, I just want to confirm the details of this sampling method. So they call it the new standard of sampling. So essentially, they recorded different lengths of notes, so 9 different unique lengths of every note, which is really interesting. So they also recorded legato in and out of every note, and you can read all of this to kind of get a sense of what's going on. But essentially, recording the different legato styles in and out of the notes and having 9 different lengths of notes allows the engine to basically choose from the different samples dependent on your phrase and your way of playing. So I was slightly off there. Not nine notes, or not, sorry, like not nine sustains, but basically 9 different lengths of the same note. So I guess kind of like 9 sustained, but this is a little more specific, and the manual for the instrument is very useful to just read over and understand how the sampling method works. So let me play something for you. In real time, of course, when I play something, it's going to go as soon as I play it. But in Smart Delay, you're not going to hear it right away. You're going to hear it 4 beats later. So here we go. I'm going to play just a regular G minor scale in real time first. Let's try that with the Smart Delay. Here we go. Let's try it with a C major scale. So we'll do the real time first. Right? With the Smart Delay. Night and day, all of a sudden. Let's play a little swing line. Let's try to real time first. Maybe I'll try to ride the mod wheel as well. Okay, doesn't sound that great when I played it like that, but let's try it with a Smart Delay. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even finish that line because to me it already sounds so good. And that's just using the legato articulation. So you can imagine adding in the different articulations and using the different key switches. The script basically analyzes your performance according to the velocities you're playing, the length, the note lengths you're playing, and all of that to choose the best performance to present to you. And it takes 4 beats to do that, which is definitely worth it. So obviously, if you have to wait 4 beats, then it makes sense to take the trumpet region and drag it 4 beats backwards. And in a minute, I'll show you these 2 examples, contrasting examples I kind of quickly whipped up together to do that. So just a really insane script that makes it sound super realistic. Let's do a couple more examples here. I'll stop talking, but I'll just stick with a Smart Delay for now. So. Okay, so, I mean, I've already played with this instrument for a few days, but my mind is still blown. Like, it sounds so good. I hope you would agree. Compare that to just the real-time performance, for example. Right, and so basically it's sticking with the legato articulation, and in real time also when you play hard, like super hard, by default, it activates a staccato sample. So I would have to go in and actually, fix that a little bit. But the Smart Delay seems to realize that I didn't mean to do a staccato, so it kind of keeps it connected all together, all throughout. So that is the idea of Birth of the Trumpet. It's a really innovative concept, right? Analyzing your performance, taking the time to really go through the thousands of samples that they've recorded. I believe it's 2,000 samples per note, essentially. So that's why the footprint is slightly less than a gigabyte for this one patch. But it really is worth it. If you're going for a realistic trumpet sound, a jazz trumpet sound, the phrasing and dynamics in this thing is insane. Just looking at the control as well, let me see if I can find this. The swing accent, I think, is what really contributes to this as well. Because let's turn that off for a second. And let's see what this line sounds like. Okay, let's turn it on. So you hear that it adds a little bit of an accent to kind of the longer notes, essentially. And the inner notes, the shorter notes, are a little quieter and a little softer. So it really gives you that sense of swing, which is really interesting to me. So anyway, without further ado, let me show you a really quick mock-up of it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, just a little middle part. And then I'll show you just a really quick swing example that I've thrown up together as well. So here is, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Actually, first of all, let's hear it in real time. See what that sounds like, and then we'll switch over to Smart Delay. Here we go. Okay, so it doesn't sound that bad. It sounds pretty good. Now let's turn on Smart Delay and make sure I drag this 4 beats ahead. Here we go. So for me, it sounds like a real player, you know. For me, it's just night and day. Awesome. Okay, now this is a tough one, right? Seeing if it can handle a fast swing line, you can see I've bumped up the tempo all the way up to 240. So first of all, let's hear this in real time. Drag this over and see what this sounds like. Ready? Here we go. Okay, let's hear it by itself. All right, so definitely some of the legato transitions sound a little bumpy, like they're struggling to keep up just a little bit. But let's turn on Smart Delay and see what we got. First, we'll hear it in solo, and then we'll hear it in context. It's insane. It's so good. Okay. Now let's put it in context. Okay, anyway. So this is one of those libraries that is really an inspirational library, I think. It's like it features this technology that's so new that hasn't really been done before, or at least not to this degree. I've never heard of this kind of delay concept where the script actually takes time to actually analyze what you're doing and then spit out a realistic performance. So big props to Straight Ahead Samples and Trey for doing this. And they already have the saxes and also a lead trumpet planned, plus many more instruments, I'm sure, in the pipeline. But this is just a very welcome addition to the market, in my personal opinion, and I cannot recommend it highly enough, especially if you are into writing jazz mockups and you really need a solo trumpet that has this dark and mellow sound, but can also do some pretty swinging fast lines as well. This might definitely fit the bill for you. The only thing you just want to look out for is that this library does run a little heavy on the CPU if your computer cannot handle it. So for me, I use I have 64 gigabytes of RAM on this iMac, and I encountered the occasional pop and click when I loaded a bunch of instruments in addition to the trumpet library. So I had the Birth of the Trumpet, and by the way, these other instruments are from Straight Ahead Samples as well. So we have the bass, we have the drums in different tempos. I just use a slower one for the first example, and then the faster NKI for the second. And then the pianos from Piano and Blue from Cinesamples. But yeah, when I loaded too many instruments, it started to introduce some clicking and distortion in the sound, which I couldn't get rid of even after printing it to audio. So I think the best course of action to fix that would be to, have your instruments all laid out and then bounce those to audio. So you commit to those. Then that will ease up the load on the CPU dramatically because you're not actually running the MIDI anymore. And then you can reload in the trumpet, and it should be totally fine. At least that's what worked for me. So just make sure you have at least, 16, 32 gigabytes of RAM to handle the demands of this library. And if you do, then you are all set to go, because the result that comes from it is, in my opinion, fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to see what Trey does in the future. I think they already have some stuff lined up for early next year, if I'm not mistaken, but we'll see. Very exciting times, especially for the jazz market, where it's kind of underserved and underdeveloped. So hopefully Straight Ahead Samples keeps this going, and we'll see what happens. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you in the next video. Just remember to download my sample libraries buyer's guide. It's absolutely free, but it basically takes you through my personal library suggestions and preferences, and I've organized them into all the different sections, like strings, woodwinds, brass, and percussion, even jazz libraries, and ethnic piano libraries, like all of this stuff. And you can download for free, just to help you maybe with your next purchase if you're on the market looking for the instruments that I use and you're interested in seeing how I get a particular sound. It's usually due to the samples themselves and how they're recorded and all of that. So yeah, it's my gift to you for watching this video. Thank you very much for sticking around. I really appreciate it. Support Straight Ahead Samples if you're into jazz. They definitely do some great work. So thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.